Welcome to the ADHD Brains in Business show. I'm your host, Kim Raine, an ADHD author, educator, coach, and the proud owner of a late ADHD diagnosis. In these lively, perfectly imperfect episodes packed with hacks, tips, and tricks, my guest experts and I are going to bring you motivation, education, and strategies on how to balance life, business, and ADHD so you can do things your brain's way and thrive with the confidence and the success that you deserve. So fasten your seatbelts, hold on to your hats, and scream if you want to go faster, because here we go. Okay, guys, so I've got a real treat for you today. I have got Gary Lane from the Real Me Therapy practice. Gary is a psychotherapist, although he says not so much these days. I'm going to ask him about that in a minute. An ADHD practitioner, he trained with us, and a somatic experience practitioner. Hi, Gary.
Hi.
Let's get straight into it. When I just said to you about introducing you, why not the psychotherapy so much anymore? What's changed?
Oh, God, that's a good question. I guess for me, the whole neurodiverse / nervous system thing is where I place a lot of my attention. And the reason for that is because it is so healing.
Yeah.
I've become quite, has psychotherapy got a place? Absolutely. Yeah, it has. You know, it can get you, clients can become heard for the first time. But if you're just repeating the same story, you know, the impact that has on the nervous system is really not helpful. So I guess with the coaching, it gets people out of that kind of groove.
Yeah.
And then once they understand their nervous system and are able to feel safe in their own nervous system or in their own bodies for the first time, and with an understanding of their own experience of neurodiversity, like through their own lens, you know.
Is that what's kind of tipped you away from it? Is it the neurodiversity stuff? Is it like understanding the ADHD and the autism? Is it that's made you think actually we need to look more at the other side of things and the more somatic stuff?
Yeah, and I think, you know, obviously everyone's own experience is subjective, isn't it? So, but it's also subjective on their own nervous system. And then, like, you know, you're looking at being born with a brain that's different to a neurotypical brain, and how much more susceptible they are to the trauma in life.
Yeah.
The sensitivity, you know, their perception on what's going on. And to be able to kind of look at that through a lens where, you know, the gaslighting, you know, we're getting them to understand that first, and then the grieving process in that.
Yeah.
And then once they can kind of look at their own nervous systems through a curious lens, like wanting a kind of like more nurturing, giving it a bit of a cuddle, like, and being able to ask them amazing questions that will help them kind of like speed that process up. I just think, you know,
it takes it to another level.
Yeah, it does. It takes it to another level, and absolutely. Therapy has got a place, and you know, and I will always be a therapist. You know, looking at it, you know, and being empathic and understanding, etc., etc. But I think ultimately it's got to come from a place of regulation, isn't it? And being able to feel safe in your own body.
I think, like, in my experience, I suppose, and it's different because I've not been a therapist, but as a coach and then understanding the ADHD part, people have come to me who have been in therapy for years and years and years, and then suddenly understand ADHD. Coaching is a very different beast. It's more about like, hey, what are we going to do about this? And
Yeah.
they've said that that's kind of been the game changer for them.
Yeah.
So you say it's definitely got a place, but I just found it
It's the
quite interesting.
personal responsibility that you're willing to take in it, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right.
100%.
You know,
Let's break down let's just start with, because obviously your work is a lot around trauma, and we've talked about trauma a lot. So, and this might seem an obvious question to you, and I think it's probably people think it's an obvious thing, but then are they? What is trauma? What is trauma exactly?
so
For
in its
people?
most basic form,
Yeah,
anything that your nervous system perceives as too much, too soon, or too quick.
right.
That's it.
So, in which case, because thinking of, we all have trauma. And I talk a lot, and like that, people have said to me, I had to do a masterclass for some people that were studying trauma, and I thought, oh God, what do I know? And I thought, but living with undiagnosed ADHD is traumatic, I think.
Yeah. Because you're just repeating the same pattern over and over and over again, aren't you? But I will always look at it through a nervous system lens, as you know, so
Yeah.
if you think about, being overstimulated, overwhelmed, fear,
Yeah.
from an age of 7, 8, when we start to experience ourselves in the world and have internal working models. So understand, we see ourselves and then we see ourselves in the world. And
Yeah.
there is that subconscious judgment, isn't there? That I'm different to everyone else. They're
Yeah.
all sitting in a classroom behaving themselves, and I have no idea what's going on here. Internally, I'm screaming, and I just want to get up and just implode. So then that's where the process starts, isn't it? So that's, that in itself is traumatic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's too much for us on a daily basis.
Yeah. 100%.
So, and then you've got, that's accumulative trauma, if you want, little T stuff. And then you've got the big T stuff, which is Peter Levine will describe this as, the process gets interrupted. So we get stuck in the actual event, and our nervous system didn't get time to process it.
So when you're talking about the bigger T stuff, we're talking about the big, I mean,
one-off.
Yeah, the one-off things that really rock your world, that just the curveballs.
Yeah.
To put
So
it
for me, I'll talk about my own experience. So when I was 17, I got stabbed.
Okay.
And multiple times, and I was left basically to bleed out.
Right. Wow.
So the process where I got stuck in it was, I was lying on the floor, bleeding out, and I had to get up myself, get out of the flat, walk down 3 flights of stairs out into the road, and hail a taxi to get to hospital. Otherwise, I would have just bled out.
Yeah.
So the process, the stuckness was I had to do it on my own.
Yeah.
So that's where I've got caught in it. And then the PTSD stuff came afterwards. Every time I went into a social environment, my nervous system would get kind of highly activated.
Yeah. And is that what it is, protecting you? It's just this is, get out. This
get
could
out.
be
It's not
dangerous.
safe. So then became the self-medicating. Whenever I went into a social situation, I drank or used to self-soothe.
Yeah.
So then when I processed the trauma, it was I did it with somebody. Somebody was sat beside of me, and there was no talking involved. I was asked to come up with something for a theme for the day, and it wasn't even that. And I was just lying there, and it was a touch process where kind of he had a hand on my arm and a hand on my shoulder.
Yeah.
And my body it was almost like an out of body experience. Like I felt my hand automatically went over my stomach where I got stabbed, and I just felt like I was lying on a cold slab. It was horrific. And then
How long after this was the event? How much is this like recent? Is this like, did you have a
this
lot
was
of
3 years
therapy?
ago, and I got stabbed when I
Right.
was 17.
So all the time that trauma was
Mm.
stuck, and
Mm.
this is what we were talking about, isn't it? Between the different of like the somatic
Mm.
stuff like that, and I mean, like this is probably going to get me in trouble. Like the issues are in the tissues type of
Mm.
stuff, you know, like ringing out
Yeah.
nervous system. So all that time you were in that place where you were self-medicating,
Mm.
self-soothing, and
Yeah.
you were obviously trying lots of other stuff to get you out of that, were
Yeah, but I
you?
wasn't even aware of it.
Right, yeah.
It's so like ingrained. It was like all implicit memory. I didn't have a cognitive awareness of it.
So that was life. I mean, what did you think when you were you freaked out?
Well, I knew what was going to happen because I'd been kind of doing like, while I was training to be a practitioner, I was attending weekly sessions, with a practitioner, and we were working on, just working on my nervous system, like over a period of time. And it was just the bigger than my capacity got for fear, it was just
Yeah.
a natural kind of evolution to that.
Was it like the more your body would let go?
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking, like if you just go into into a situation. So actually just let's take it back a little bit because we've kind of jogged it, like what is somatic healing? What
So,
is, tell
so
us.
it's working with that. It's working with your nervous system. It's working with old patterns. It's working with basically somebody that can't experience safety in their body. So basically, it's like integrating like an element of safety into their nervous system, so they start to kind of experience. We work with calmer or safer to
Yeah.
begin with. Like, what's the felt sense of that? So there will be like an element of the muscles in the shoulder or in the jaw or in the hips. There will be a softening of the tissue. There will be like the breath. There you might experience some kind of like physical sensation in the body.
And as the practitioner, are you doing this through touch, or is it through breath
Doesn't
work?
have to be. Doesn't have to be. It just by visualization you can do it. You don't even have to You don't even have to say anything. That's the thing I like about it. It's like you can like. So if I said to you, "Can you think of a time over the last 3 or 4 weeks when you were triggered?" You start talking to me about that, or start visualizing that incident. Your nervous system will respond to it.
I can feel it straight away in my body.
So therefore, then I would say to you, is like, and as you visualize that, what do you notice is happening in your body?
I can feel it straight away in the back of my neck, my shoulders, and a little bit here.
So in the back of your neck and in your shoulders, what are you experiencing?
They're lifted. That I feel them like almost tighten,
Tighten. So there's a tightness in your
constrict.
shoulder.
Yeah, they're kind of
And as you place your attention on them now,
yeah.
without trying to change anything, what do you notice?
Well, I can soften them.
Yeah.
I can like. I mean, I suppose my go-to, and I don't know if this is me because of my background and
And
what I
now
do.
you're trying to intellectualize it.
Yeah, but my go-to was to be like, I'll just breathe into that area, and I don't know if that's because that's a human reaction or because part of me knows that would be a
Yeah,
good
but
thing to
also your
do.
body will try and regulate itself
Right. Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form.
So how does this, so I can see like, so how are you seeing this playing out for ADHD, people with ADHD? And how,
So, firstly, it's about being able to understand them. But if you look at like traits of attention to too many things,
yeah.
so it's not attention deficit, is it? It's attention to too much. Too
Yeah.
much. So think about that from evolutionary. Like, you are living in a tiny community. You are, there's a pack of wolves that have just moved in just behind you in the tree line, and they're there 24/7.
Yeah.
So you would be hyper focused, wouldn't you, to your environment? So you
Yeah.
would be paying attention to absolutely every single thing that happened, wouldn't you? Like, every
Yeah.
twig snap, every time anything happens, you'd be paying attention to it. So first of all, to get them to understand that, to get them to understand their nervous system, and then get their own experience of that. So, like, how
Yeah.
does that impact you on a day-to-day basis? Like, tell me when it's helpful, when it's not so helpful, all of that kind of stuff. And then get them to understand that they can actually regulate that by, you know, not necessarily meditation, but a meditative practice where they kind of, you can choose to focus on that or focus on something else. Do you know, like, so it's like, you then, like, it's a choice, isn't it? Whether
Yeah.
how regulated you are, how overstimulated you are. The more overstimulated you are, the more things you'll be paying attention to.
Yes.
So if you can get some kind of safety and regulation into your system, that reduces, doesn't it?
So I'm just thinking, even that bringing the awareness, because here's the thing, like when we're in that state. So if I think of business, and I think of, that, I think one of the places that sort of like when that overwhelm and there's so much to do and you can't think about the right thing.
Yeah,
And, I suppose like when you're in that space, the executive functioning, the focus, the planning, the
yeah,
prioritizing, all of those things are off the chain
yeah,
and everything's piling up and it's feeling so overwhelming.
yeah.
What would be your, you would, so for me, it'd be like, are you saying like you almost look inwards?
Yeah, well, like, so look, all of my, like, the majority of the people that I work with in online in groups are male businessmen in their 40s and 50s with
Right.
either a recent ADHD diagnosis or that are curious.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is super, 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 like, you know, important, because
Yeah.
99% of them have experienced exactly what you talk about.
Yeah.
So then, like, that's okay. So, but implicitly, like, if you are in fight or flight, the last thing you can do is slow down or stop, because you're going to get eaten, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what do? We take more on. We keep going, which is
Yeah.
really counterproductive, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
then that's just increases that we become more stimulated, more overwhelmed, more fearful.
I'm just remembering a time when I experienced exactly that. I was completely
Yeah.
overwhelmed, burning out, and yet I remember physically not being able to stop and almost doing, to the point where my husband came home and found me cleaning it under the sink. Now, I've not cleaned under the sink up until that point and ever since that point. He was like, "What are you doing?" And he knew something was wrong. And he said, "You're talking really fast. You're talking," like, I was just like, "Duh, duh, 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 duh." And he was like, "Kim, something's really not right." And you saying that was like, actually, yeah, had I, known, obviously, that's the complete opposite of what I needed to do. And I maybe even knew I needed to slow down, but I was afraid. I was afraid to slow down because I was
Yeah.
afraid of what would happen
Yeah.
if I did slow down.
Yeah, but that's it, isn't it? It's implicitly, it's built into us that it's not safe to slow down.
Yeah.
So, like, first of all, it starts with awareness, but, like, then the practice is okay. So, like, I've kind of devised this kind of like analogy of our bodies like a smoke alarm. So, like, to make it really easy for them to
Mm.
understand, like, okay, so it's got a purpose, our body, and we either overreact to it. So we call the fire brigade every time the smoke alarm goes off. Every time we
Right.
burn the toast, we call the fire brigade. Or we get so pissed off with it keep going off that we just pull the battery out. So, like,
Yes.
that's freeze or disconnect or disassociation. So it's like, okay, so where are you on that?
Yeah.
And then it's like, once you start to understand that, if you put the battery back in and you start to reconnect, it's like, okay, so there's more intention and more awareness of what our bodies are telling us. So how does overwhelm first show up in our bodies? Because that's then the smoke alarm going off. Okay, so what's going on here? Is like the toast burning, or is the fucking house burning down? Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? So then what do I need to do? So if I'm sat here and I start to become overwhelmed, then I need to press the pause button and just get up and move. Get out of
Yeah.
it, move away from this environment. Maybe walk around the block, breathe, connect with nature, whatever, like
Just yeah,
do
and
something.
interrupt that
Yeah,
break, isn't it? The fire break, I suppose.
it is, isn't it? And then it's like, okay, then start to pay attention when the chip pan catches on fire straight like initially. Because that's that, isn't it? It's like, okay, so we can actually put a fire blanket over it. Or we could, because what we generally do is like we stand there and we watch the chip pan go up. Then within the kitchen starts going on
Running around
fire,
screaming.
and then the house is going on fire. And then we go, maybe I might want to ring the fire brigade now. Whereas actually, if we could have noticed it when the chip pan first caught fire, we could have put a smoke blanket over it, and everything would have been all right. So it's getting them to understand that from a business, and then you can start to put strategies in. Well, like, let's look at your boundaries. Can you delegate that? What is it that you're, do you know what? I reference your book all of the time, like, because it is just so apt, isn't it? It's like square pegs, right? Like what you're trying
Yeah.
to, you're sat in there, you're sat at your desk for 4 hours trying to smash a square peg through a round hole.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, and then it's like, okay, is there something a bit deeper at this? Is this what is the control aspect to this for you? Do you know what I mean? Do we need to get underneath that a little bit more?
Yeah.
Or is it just you're implicit where I just can't let go of it all?
Yeah. Well, it's almost, I think, all of those things, isn't it? I think there's the control aspect, the whole, and maybe that is like a trauma response again from those years of, I suppose when you are that person at school, you're sat, you kind of like almost get trained to disconnect from
Yeah,
what your body's telling you, because your body, whether it's at school or at work or wherever, your body's telling you, this doesn't feel good to me. This is not the right environment for me. We need to get up and out of here.
yeah,
But actually, society, your teacher, your mum and dad, whatever, like, well, you need to sit in that chair and stay there.
yeah,
So kind of like, I guess we have that sort of drummed into us. We also have that feeling, and I think this drives so many of us is and it's the hyperactivity element of like, never having enough, never doing enough, never being enough. So I have to keep going. I have to keep
yeah,
going because I've not done enough. I'm not enough. And then this, not checking in with our bodies. We never look in. We're always looking out. And I almost
yeah,
think, like you say, when the chip pan, so to speak, is on fire, we're so used to ignoring it and ignoring that alarm, because it was almost be, for me as well, sometimes I'd be like, well, don't be such a drama queen. You can cope with that.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? You can keep going. And we don't. And actually, I just think part of it, like you kind of saying, is, well, like you just did with me, with that thing, is just recognizing like, okay, this is an alarm.
mm,
We need to just look at this, Kim. But
yeah.
we don't.
No,
We
we
don't
don't.
do
We
it.
keep ignoring it. And I
And,
think, you know, that's one part of my business. Another part is like I do a lot of parent consultations with
mhm,
about, again, like their kids they're either curious or they've just had a recent diagnosis. And that kind of the impact, generally 99% of the conversations I have are around school. And it's like the impact that environment is having on them. And
yeah,
depending on like how kind of neurodiverse aware the school is, or
yeah,
accommodating the school is, will depend on the amount of trauma that the child is going through, because again,
yeah,
like, you're trying to square peg round hole thing again, isn't it? Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? You're enforcing this, and some of this, like, the language around the parents is like, well, they're destroying their future. And I'm like,
yeah,
are they? Are they really? Like, because I think like what's going on at the moment is destroying their future.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
is there another way? Can we get people round a table or have a different conversation?
Yeah. I wonder how things will change, because that's what I think about. It's like, and all of that, again, to that trauma response is teaching children to disregard what their innate feelings are, what their body's telling them to do, and to not
Yeah.
do it. So we learn to push through and we learn not to listen. Do you think one of the things, actually, it's just changed a little bit, is because one of the things that comes up a lot for me or with my clients is, and it's such a big part of business now, is the whole visibility part, being visible in your business. And I find that people find that so triggering, and something that they just absolutely fly, like, would you say, fallen away from. They just don't want to do it, and the fear of being judged or being seen.
Yeah.
How much do you think the trauma part of that plays into that?
Yeah, I think,
And the
well,
nervous.
again, it's subjective, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So it's like, what is that? What's the underlying message here that you're getting kind of caught up in? Because
Yeah,
I think, like, where I would kind of go with it is, like, one of the things that I encourage, like, the men in my group to do is, like, is there a low risk version of this? Do you know what I
right,
mean? Is
yes.
there a version of this that's got a lot lower risk to it that you can kind of experiment with? And, like, so you're kind of growing that capacity and that resilience to be able to do that. And, you know, is it necessary for you to be the face of your business? Like, do you need to be seen?
Yeah,
You might not need to. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, for me, it's like, what is the damage that's being done with all the kind of gaslighting that you're kind of, like, the self gaslighting that's going on in the first place? Do you know, like, that's where I would start with it. Like,
I
what's
think.
the underlying message that you're sending yourself in this?
Yeah. And I think you raise a really good point as well. Like, how visible do you need? Like, it just comes up all the time, the visibility part. And, like, I need to be visible, especially, I suppose, for me, like, we train the coaches, and then
Mm,
it's like, right, how do we do a session that's like how to get your first 5 clients. And people are like, right, I've got this Facebook, and I'm like, but you probably can get your first 5 clients on the high street, on your
yeah,
local high street. But it always comes up, and it seems to freeze so many people. And I think, with us, like, there is the rejection sensitivity
yeah,
part, the
massive.
imposter syndrome. And I just think and I'm talking about just the trauma of ADHD and undiagnosed, and the trauma of constantly feeling overwhelmed in
Uh,
that fight or flight, whether you're overwhelmed for your business, whether you're overwhelmed because you can't decide what to cook for dinner tonight, when where you're just overwhelmed because you said yes to too many things, or
um,
whatever it is, and how, yeah, we get so stuck in those experiences. Have you got any kind of little things that we could do that could help us come on, give us your magic?
so,
You got
like, I'd actually delivered some training in the lads group this morning about this. So this was being able to, I've encouraged them all. I've given them a task for the week
Yeah,
around, before they say yes to anything this week, I've made them promise me that they will pause before they say yes to anything this week.
yeah,
And to be able to ask themselves, like, how much capacity have they got,
yeah,
like, physically and
yeah,
mentally, before they look at their calendar.
right,
So is this a survival, fawning, appeasing, people pleasing place? Because I think a lot of people don't understand that people pleasing is a survival state. It's
yeah,
like, I didn't realize this, like, until I was training, but, like, appeasing, people pleasing is part of the freeze state. So as a child, you will have adapted to people pleasing out of survival, when
yeah,
you couldn't run away and you couldn't fight.
yeah, right,
So part of that overwhelm, the freeze, like, it's a massive thing, the
yeah.
appeasing.
Oh,
Um,
and I see that all the time
mm,
in business. People saying yes when they really want to say no, taking on
yeah,
too much. I see it with the way they structure their pricing. I see it with, you know, like not wanting to charge for this, or giving clients just over promising and then quite often under delivering
Yeah.
because they just can't possibly deliver everything that they've said that
Yeah,
they
yeah, yeah,
can,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then they're burning themselves out.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
like, that's one strategy that I would use.
Okay. So just that pause and just check, is
Pause.
this,
Just
yeah,
check in. Well, how am I doing? Like, where am I? Am I in that place that we spoke about earlier on where I'm overstimulated, I'm
yeah,
overwhelmed, and it's just like it almost becomes like implicit, doesn't it? I'm just saying yes for the sake of like, because
yeah,
that's what I've always done.
yeah,
So it's like, again, you're becoming more intentional. And I think if we can learn to start checking in, it like
yeah,
felt sense first, then we are able to then become more intentional, aren't we, about where's this coming from? Is this coming from a place of like, I'm an 8 out of 10. I feel great. So like, I want to offer my support, and I want to be able to kind of, and I want to do this for you, as opposed to like, I've got nothing left here, and I'm just, I
yeah,
need to make sure that you're okay.
yeah.
Um, so like, yeah, that's one thing. Um,
I
what
was
was the other part of the question?
So just how we can help people, any tips you've got that can help people like with showing up in their businesses, with being visible. And I guess with visible, I'm also talking about just showing up, you know, just not fawning, just not being like, oh, I'm going to procrastinate and not do anything today. And when very often that's because we're overwhelmed. But I just wanted to say, like you say, with things like, you know, visibility or making the call or making that sales call, you know, like rejection on sales calls and all of the trauma and that, like, well, no, trauma is a big word for that, I guess. But I just think there's underlying stuff that has an effect that we may not see repeating itself, if you like. But I think when you learn to pause, and when you learn to say no, and you learn to say, actually, no, my cup is full and I don't want
Yeah,
it
yeah,
spilling
yeah,
over, you will find that suddenly you have more bandwidth, more space to think,
yeah,
oh, do you know what I can do? I will just film a quick reel. I will just do that, because you're not overthinking it. You're
yeah,
not
yeah,
overwhelmed. And we need, you know, our executive functioning, the part of the brain that gives us all the bits and pieces to help us do what we say we're going to do and what we need to do. When we're in the place, like you said about, and the toast is catching on fire every 5 minutes,
yeah.
we aren't able to rationally think and do
No, we're
those.
not. And it's a great point, I think, because like, like, it's very simplistic to keep looking at it through the lens of a nervous system, but ultimately, like, whether you've got ADHD or not, like, or you're neurodiverse or not, if you are overstimulated a lot of the time, you will have those traits, do you know?
Yeah.
And and it makes life so much more difficult to be able to function, to have that executive function, to be able to make decent choices, to be able to, you know, like, if I look at myself and rejection sensitivity, like, I like, I like this morning, I'm probably like a 2 or a 3 out of 10 because I had a long race yesterday. So
Oh, yeah.
she's
It's a big
she's
bummer.
in like she's next door, in like, and she said something to me this morning, and I took it way out of proportion. I'm like, and I come back in here, and I'm like, what are you doing? Do you know, like.
Yeah.
But if I'm on an 8 out of 10, then you just take it in your stride, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. And that, again, like, whether it's your spouse, your team, your
Mm,
colleagues, your clients,
mm,
all of those things, it's just when we haven't got that capacity,
yeah.
it's so much easier to, I guess, to react.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Mm.
So, like, as a coach, I would say to people, like, what are you willing to take responsibility for in this?
Yeah.
Like, I have clients that, like, and this is very common, like, their mindset around different things, like, especially going to bed, like, well, it's my time, like, it's my
Yeah.
reward. And I'm like, but like, what does that mean? Like, because what version of you tomorrow
Yeah.
has that helped? Do you know what I mean? Where you've had 3 hours sleep, like, you're screaming
Yeah.
at your partner, you're screaming at the kids, you've got no capacity at work, then you start like binge eating, then you start doing this, then you start doing that. Like at the end of the day, like how are you going to be able to kind of shift this mindset of yours in actually, so this is going to benefit me tomorrow. Like I'm prioritizing my sleep, my physical state, my mental state for tomorrow.
Which, as ADHDers, though, we struggle,
It's
right? And
hard, isn't it?
discounting, we live in the now. So right
Exactly.
now, I know that I want to do that, but what's the program that I'm watching now? The Cowboys. Oh, I love it. Anyway, another episode of that's going to come on Netflix.
Exactly.
But it's realizing that, isn't it? And I think you're saying as a coach, it's like helping people have that awareness and be like, you have a choice. You do have a choice.
Yeah.
And the results of this, because the bedtime one is the one that I hear
It's massive, isn't it? It's huge. And it's like, ultimately, like you're a 40-year-old person, like, do you know what I mean? Like, take some responsibility for that person.
Yeah. And we can do hard things. We can do that, even though we think, oh, ADHD and I can't do this and Yeah, you can sit and you can blame it, but ultimately at some point you've got to be like, well, if I get out of my way, maybe I can do this.
Yeah.
And I also think when they start to do that, what I see, and my own experience is, we get stuck in patterns, don't we? So once they experience, an earlier night, a more productive day, a happier day, and another earlier night, and then that feeling, then they can be like, oh, now I know what I'm working to, because that's a good feeling that I'm being pulled by.
Yeah.
When it's something just in woof, it's quite hard to focus on.
Yeah.
If you think about, is there anything that you would love our listeners, like entrepreneurs, ADHD, all coming at them, is there anything that you'd like to really like them to know about, their nervous system, trauma, but business success and how they can overcome that?
So the first one is what we spoke about earlier on, is the too much, too soon, too quick thing.
Yeah.
Like if people can understand that on a very, very, very simple kind of level, I've got a video on it. Like if anyone anyone is remotely curious about it, they can get hold of me. However,
Brilliant.
after
We're
this,
the
and I will quite happily email it to them.
Lovely.
For free. And then you've got, I guess, from a business point of view, I guess it's trying to understand and set your business up to win and your environment up to win, rather than going back to what we said earlier on, is about the square pegs and the round hole. Like, it's a part of your business, that what can you delegate out? What can you, people that are working on their own. So like for me, I've just started looking at a VA, and, I've just started automating my business. It was really challenging for me. But ultimately it's like, okay, so what can I start to do? Where can I start with this? Like, what is going to be manageable for me without getting overwhelmed? And I think when you can start to break it down, again, because the too much, too soon, too quick thing would just it will just paralyze you. And then you start to be able to, then you start gaslighting yourself, then the whole process goes over again. And something else as well is like, well, no one is going to be able to do this as well as I am. And the reality is nobody else does give a shit as much as you do. That's the reality of it. And I'm like, that's the reality. So like you've come to me, you're in a situation where you're totally overwhelmed, you're totally burnt out, and yet you're stuck between almost permissioning yourself to do something different and caught up in the paralysis of it.
Yeah. I'm just to finish, I'm just thinking, the too much, too fast, too soon, isn't it? Too much, too fast, too soon.
Too quick, too soon.
Too quick, too soon. I mean, with ADHD and business, we can just being aware of that, I think, Gary, like you said, because we can find ourselves in that on a day-to-day
Oh,
basis. I mean, I can very easily find
hour
myself.
to hour, minute
Yeah,
to minute.
like, oh my God, Kim, whoa. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think probably for me, not like you have just put it more eloquently, but over the years, that's been one of my things for my own ADHD and building a business is just slowing that down and being like, well, don't get yourself. I'm constantly sense checking. Am I doing too much, too fast, too soon?
yeah,
Because actually what it does is it puts me into one of those trauma responses.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. I love that. It's my little takeaway for you there,
Good.
listeners. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So where can people find you, Gary?
So
And follow
on my
you?
socials, it is The Real Me Therapy.
Yeah,
My website is therealmetherapy.com.
brilliant. We'll put it all below. And what are you doing? Just tell me. So you work with, who are you working with? You're working with males.
So my online coaching programs are male businessmen in their 40s and 50s with a
Fantastic.
recent diagnosis of ADHD or who are curious about ADHD. Consultancy is around parents, children, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Um,
I bet it's a riot in your group program. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in there.
It's mental.
And
It's absolutely mental. We're all going out we're meeting in the Peak District on Friday and we're going for a walk and then going out for some food. So
fantastic.
like, yeah, if anyone bumps into like a load of men in their 40s and 50s that can't stop talking, yeah,
That's you. Come and
that's
say
us lot.
hello.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Gary. Thanks
Cheers,
for that.
mate. It's my
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you very much.
All right.